The phone call came on a Tuesday morning. Linda, my neighbor. We'd shared coffee on my back porch for 15 years, so I knew her voice. But this time, something was off. "Margaret, I'm so confused," she said. "I just came from your celebration of life." I stood in my kitchen, coffee cup halfway to my lips. "My what?" "At the community center. Jessica said you'd passed away last week, in your sleep. There were flowers, photos, about 40 people there." The cup slipped from my hand, hit the counter. Coffee splashed across the tile. I didn't move to clean it up. "Linda, I'm standing in my kitchen. I'm alive." Silence on the other end. Then, "Oh my God, Margaret, what is happening?" I didn't know. But I got in my car. The community center was only 10 minutes away. I'd volunteered there for years, helping seniors with their taxes, teaching computer classes. I knew every hallway, every door. As I pulled into the parking lot, I saw cars. Too many cars for a Tuesday morning. Through the front windows, I could see people gathered in the main hall. I walked to the window, stood on the landscaping stones to see inside. There were flower arrangements, lilies, white roses, the kind you send to funerals, a photo display on an easel near the front. My photo, not an old one. Recent, from last month's book club gathering. I was smiling, holding a coffee cup. Around the display, people I knew, neighbors, friends from church, my former teaching colleagues. And there, in the center, accepting hugs, was my daughter. Jessica wore black, a dress I'd never seen. Her eyes were red. She dabbed at them with a tissue as Mrs. Henderson from down the street squeezed her hand. "Your mother was such a wonderful woman," I heard through the glass. "She'll be so missed." I watched my daughter nod, watched her accept a casserole dish from someone, watched her cry, over me, while I stood outside, breathing, very much alive. I walked to the door, opened it. The conversation didn't stop immediately. A few people near the entrance glanced over, then stopped talking, then stared. I walked further into the room. More people turned. The silence spread like a wave. Within 10 seconds, 40 people were staring at me. At the woman whose photo was displayed behind them. At the woman they'd come to mourn. "Mom." Jessica's voice cut through the quiet. She stood frozen near the front, casserole dish still in her hands. Her face went from red to white in an instant. Not relief, not joy, shock, and then something else. Something that made my stomach turn. Anger. "Mom, what are you doing here?" she said. Her voice was sharp. "You shouldn't be here. You're confused." I looked around the room, at the flowers, at my photo, at the guest book on a table near the door full of signatures and condolences, at a memory board with pictures from my life, my wedding, my teaching career, my grandchildren. "I'm not dead, Jessica," I said. She moved toward me quickly, grabbed my arm, her fingers dug in. "Let's get you home. You're having one of your episodes." "I'm not having an episode. I'm standing right here. I'm alive." "Mrs. Thompson?" Pastor Williams approached, concerned. He'd done my husband's funeral 5 years ago. "Are you all right? Jessica said you'd been in hospice." "I haven't been in hospice. I was at book club last night. I had coffee with Linda this morning." Jessica's grip tightened. "Mom, please, you're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing me." Her husband, Tom, appeared at her side. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Margaret, let's take you home," he said quietly. "You need to rest." They escorted me out, Jessica's hand on my elbow, firm, guiding, pushing. In the doorway, I glanced back, saw a stack of programs on a table. A celebration of the life of Margaret Thompson, it read, beloved mother, grandmother, teacher. Born 72 years ago, died last week. I got in my car, drove home. My hands shook on the steering wheel. When I pulled into my driveway, I saw it, a manila envelope on my doorstep. I picked it up, opened it. Notice of estate settlement, the header read, in the matter of the estate of Margaret Thompson, deceased. 3 weeks ago, my daughter had declared me dead, and I'd just crashed my own memorial service to prove I was alive. I've lived in this house for 47 years. It's a ranch-style home in the suburbs. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a yard with a garden that my husband David planted before he died. Oak trees line the street. The neighborhood is quiet. Families, retirees, people who wave when you check the mail. David died 5 years ago. Heart attack. Sudden. One day we were planning a trip to the coast for our anniversary, and the next day I was planning his funeral. After, people asked if I'd sell, move to something smaller, a condo, maybe closer to Jessica. But I wasn't ready. This was home. I knew every creak in the floorboards, every stain on the carpet, the kitchen counter where I'd taught Jessica to make cookies, the living room where we'd opened Christmas presents for 42 years, the garden where David had shown me how to prune roses. I managed fine alone. I kept busy. Tuesdays, book club at the library. Wednesdays and Fridays, I volunteered at the library helping seniors with computers. Thursdays, garden club met at the community center. Every morning, Linda from next door would stop by with my mail. We'd have coffee on the back porch. She'd been widowed 3 years ago. We understood each other. My daughter, Jessica, used to visit every Sunday. She'd bring the kids. Kyle, my grandson, 17 now. Emma, 15. We'd have dinner. I'd ask about school, about Tom's job, about Jessica's boutique. The boutique. That's where things started to change. 2 years ago, Jessica opened a clothing store downtown. High-end women's fashion. She was so excited. I helped with the startup costs. Co-signed a loan for $50,000. "Mom, this is my dream," she'd said. "I'll pay you back, I promise." The store lasted 18 months. The location was wrong, the overhead too high. She closed it quietly, didn't talk about it much. But I'd overheard her on the phone once when she was at my house, crying, talking to someone about debt collectors. "I can't lose the house," she'd sobbed. "We're 90 days behind on the mortgage." I'd wanted to help more, but I'd already given so much. Over the years, I'd helped Jessica countless times. $28,000 for her wedding. I'd taken a second mortgage on this house to pay for it. She wanted everything perfect. The venue, the dress, the flowers. $35,000 for the down payment on their first house. I'd liquidated part of my retirement fund. "Every parent helps their kids buy a home, Mom," she'd said. $42,000 when Tom lost his job and they were facing foreclosure. I'd cashed in savings bonds I'd been holding since Jessica was born. $8,000 for both kids' braces. $50,000 for the business loan I co-signed. $18,000 when she needed a new car and hers had died. "Just a loan, Mom. I'll pay you back." Total, over $180,000 across 20 years. I'd kept track. Not to hold it over her, just to remember. To know that I'd helped, that I'd been a good mother. I never asked for the money back. I thought I was building her future, helping my grandchildren have a better life. Isn't that what parents do? But the visit stopped 8 months ago. She'd call instead. "Sorry, Mom, we're busy this week." Or Tom has to work, or the kids have plans. At first I understood. Teenagers are busy. Life gets hectic. But then the calls became shorter, more distant. Then 8 months ago, she came over with papers. "Mom, I need you to sign these." Just updated power of attorney documents, standard stuff, in case anything happens to you. I'd signed a power of attorney with my lawyer, Robert Chen, 10 years ago when David got sick. Limited authority, just medical decisions if I couldn't make them myself. Jessica knew about it. "Why update it?" I asked. "You're getting older, Mom. 72. You should have everything in order. This just gives me authority to help manage things if you need it. Pay bills, handle accounts, you know." She'd put the papers in front of me. A pen. "Just sign here. And here. Initial here." I should have read them. I know that now. I taught English for 35 years. I red-penned essays for improper citations. I failed students who didn't follow instructions. But this was my daughter, the girl I'd raised. I trusted her. I signed. She took the papers, hugged me. "Thanks, Mom. This is just a precaution, just in case." That was 8 months ago. 2 months later, she called, said she couldn't come over anymore. I'm dealing with a lot right now, Mom. I just need some space. Space. From me, her mother, who'd given her nearly $200,000 over the years. I gave her space. I didn't push. I valued family harmony. Always had. David used to say I avoided conflict like the plague. Margaret, you'd rather swallow glass than have an uncomfortable conversation, he'd teased. He was right. I didn't like fighting. Didn't like tension. So I waited. Figured she'd come around. The kids reached out sometimes. Kyle texted, sent me pictures of his football games. Emma called once, said she missed our baking days. Mom says you're not feeling well, she'd said. Are you okay? I'm fine, I told her, healthy as ever. That's weird. Mom said you were having memory problems. Memory problems. I'd frozen. Emma, I don't have memory problems. Oh, okay, maybe I misunderstood. But she hadn't misunderstood. Jessica had told the kids something was wrong with me. I didn't confront her. I should have. But I thought maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe Jessica was stressed. Maybe she'd misspoken. I kept going to book club, kept volunteering, kept tending the garden. Linda and I had coffee every morning. You seem down, she'd said a few weeks ago. Everything okay? Jessica and I aren't talking much, I'd admitted. Give her time. Adult kids go through phases. I'd nodded, taken Linda's advice, given her time. And then, 3 weeks ago, Jessica held a celebration of life for me while I was alive. I sat at my kitchen table now holding that estate notice. In the matter of the estate of Margaret Ann Thompson, deceased. Deceased. I looked around my kitchen, at the coffee maker that still worked fine, at the refrigerator covered in photos, Jessica's graduation, the grandkids' school pictures, David and me on our 40th anniversary, at the window that looked out onto the garden. The roses were blooming, red and yellow, David's favorites. I wasn't dead. I was sitting right here. But according to this notice, according to my daughter, I was gone. And I realized I'd ignored every red flag, the sudden distance, the papers I'd signed without reading, the lies Jessica told the kids, the celebration she'd held without telling me. I'd been so focused on being a good mother, on keeping the peace, on trusting my daughter that I hadn't seen what was happening. She wasn't giving me space. She was erasing me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the estate notice. Deceased. The word felt obscene. I was breathing. My heart was beating. My coffee was getting cold in front of me. But on paper, I was dead. The next morning, I checked my mail. More documents. An envelope from my bank. I opened it carefully. Dear Estate Administrator, it began. Not Dear Margaret Thompson. Estate Administrator. The letter explained that my checking account had been flagged for estate processing. All transactions were suspended pending verification of death certificate and appointment of executor. My account was frozen. I called the bank immediately, asked for the manager. When she came on the line, I kept my voice steady. This is Margaret Thompson. There's been a mistake. My account is frozen, but I'm alive. Ma'am, I'll need to verify your identity. Can you come into the branch? Yes, today, now. I drove to the bank, brought my driver's license, my passport, a utility bill from last week. The manager, a woman about Jessica's age, looked uncomfortable as she pulled up my account. Mrs. Thompson, I see the issue. Your account was placed under conservatorship 3 weeks ago. The conservator is Jessica Barrett. Do you know her? She's my daughter. I see. And did you consent to the conservatorship? I didn't even know about it. The manager shifted in her chair. That's unusual. Conservatorships typically require a court hearing, notice to the proposed conservatee. She typed something, frowned. According to our records, the conservatorship was granted based on medical documentation showing you were unable to manage your affairs. What medical documentation? I can't access that. It would have been submitted to the court. But Mrs. Thompson, if you're here and you're competent, you can challenge this. You'll need an attorney. What about my money? Can I access it? Not while the conservatorship is in place. The conservator has full authority over the account. She pulled up another screen. There have been several withdrawals over the past 3 months. Large ones. How large? She hesitated. I shouldn't share this without proper authorization, but given the circumstances... She turned the screen toward me. $87,000. 23 separate transactions, all authorized by the conservator. The room tilted. $87,000. Nearly everything I had left in savings. When? I managed. Starting 3 months ago. The last withdrawal was 2 weeks ago. I left the bank, sat in my car. My hands shook as I started the engine. She'd taken my money, filed for conservatorship, held a celebration of life, all while I was going about my normal life. Book club, coffee with Linda, volunteering. I needed to see something, know something for certain. I drove to Jessica's house, a 2-story in a newer subdivision. The house I'd helped her buy with that $35,000 down payment. I parked down the street, walked up the sidewalk. No cars in the driveway. Tom would be at work, or trying to find work. The kids at school. I knocked. No answer. I tried the doorbell. Nothing. I walked around to the side yard. The gate was unlocked. I went through, stood by the garage. The side window had a clear view inside, and there, on shelves along the wall, were my things. My grandmother's china, the set with the blue flowers that had been passed down for 4 generations. I'd promised it to Emma, boxed and stacked on a garage shelf. My photo albums, the leather-bound ones I'd spent years organizing, labeled by decade, 1960s, 1970s, our wedding, Jessica's childhood, all there. Not in my house, in Jessica's garage, my jewelry box. The wooden one David had given me on our 20th anniversary. I could see it on a shelf, closed, full of my mother's pearls, my wedding ring from David. The earrings he'd bought me the year before he died. She'd already taken my belongings, distributed them, claimed them, as if I were already gone. I heard a car. Turned. Jessica's SUV pulling into the driveway. I stepped away from the window, but she'd seen me. Her face appeared at the driver's side window, not surprised, angry. She got out, slammed the door. "What are you doing here?" "Those are my things, in your garage." "Mom, we talked about this. You weren't using them. You said I could have them." "I never said that." "Yes, you did. Last month. You don't remember. That's the problem, Mom. Your memory." "My memory is fine, Jessica. I remember everything. I remember you holding a celebration of life for me. I remember you telling people I was dead." She stepped closer. Her voice dropped. "You're confused. You had an episode. Dr. Patterson said this would happen, the paranoia, the accusations." "I've never met a Dr. Patterson." "You have. You just don't remember." "Mom, I'm trying to help you. You need help. You need care." "What I need is my money back and my belongings and an explanation for why you told everyone I was dead." Jessica's expression hardened. "I didn't tell people you were dead. I held a memorial service because you're not yourself anymore. The woman I knew, my mother, she's gone. You're just a shell, and I'm grieving that loss." The words landed like slaps. I stared at my daughter, at the person I'd raised, fed, clothed, sent to college, helped through every crisis. "I want my things back," I said. "I want access to my bank accounts. I'm calling a lawyer." "With what money, Mom?" She smiled, thin, cold. "Your accounts are frozen. You can't access them without my approval, and I'm not approving anything until you get the help you need." "You stole from me. I protected you. From yourself. You weren't competent to manage your affairs, so I stepped in. That's what good daughters do." I looked at her. Really looked. And I didn't recognize her. "This conversation is over," I said. "You'll be hearing from my attorney." I walked back to my car. My legs felt weak. I got in, started the engine, looked back at the house. Jessica stood in the driveway, arms crossed, watching me. Tom's truck pulled up as I was leaving. He got out, saw me. Our eyes met through my windshield. He looked away quickly, guilty, uncomfortable. He'd known. Maybe he hadn't agreed, but he'd known. I drove home. Linda was on her porch. She waved. I pulled into my driveway. She came over. "Margaret? What's wrong? You look pale." I told her everything, the celebration, the estate notice, the frozen account, the $87,000, my things in Jessica's garage. Linda's face went from concern to horrified. "Oh my God! Margaret, this is elder abuse. This is theft." I don't know what to do. "You need a lawyer. Do you have one?" "Robert Chen. He did my will years ago." "Call him, now." I went inside, found Robert's card. He answered on the second ring. I explained the situation. He was quiet for a long moment. "Margaret, this is serious. If Jessica filed for conservatorship without your knowledge, used forged medical documentation, and has been withdrawing funds without authorization, this is fraud, elder abuse. We need to act fast." "How fast?" "How long ago did she file?" 3 weeks, according to the bank. "Then there's likely a hearing scheduled soon to finalize the conservatorship. We need to challenge it before it's granted permanently. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning?" "Yes." "Bring everything. The estate notice, bank statements, anything she sent you, any paperwork you signed." I hung up, sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd signed those papers 8 months ago, where I'd trusted my daughter. The mail came. Linda brought it over. Another manila envelope, certified mail. I signed for it. Opened it. "Notice of conservatorship hearing," the header read. "In the matter of Margaret Ann Thompson, proposed conservatee. The hearing was scheduled for 10 days from now. Superior Court, 9 a.m., 10 days. I had 10 days to prove I wasn't incompetent. 10 days to stop my daughter from taking everything. 10 days to fight for my life." I looked at the notice, at my name. Proposed conservatee. Not Margaret, not Mrs. Thompson, just a legal term, a case number, a problem to be managed. I thought about the celebration, about my photo on that easel, about 40 people signing a guest book, offering condolences, about Jessica crying over me while I stood outside, very much alive, and I realized she hadn't just tried to steal my money. She'd tried to erase my existence, to make me legally incompetent, socially dead, financially helpless. But I was still here, still breathing, still thinking clearly, and I wasn't going down without a fight. The next morning, I sat in Robert Chen's office. He'd been my attorney for 10 years. Drew up my will when David got sick, updated it after David died. A quiet man in his 50s with graying hair and wire-rimmed glasses. On his desk, I noticed a photo of an elderly woman. His mother, I guessed. I spread the documents across his conference table. The estate notice, the conservatorship hearing notice, the bank statements I'd requested, the power of attorney I'd signed 8 months ago. Robert studied each document carefully, made notes. His expression grew darker with each page. "Margaret, this is worse than I thought. Jessica didn't just file for conservatorship. She had medical documentation submitted claiming you're incompetent. Without that, a court wouldn't grant conservatorship. I need to see those medical records." "How do I get them?" "You have a right to your own medical records. What's the name of your primary care physician?" "Dr. Wallace. I've been seeing him for 20 years. Call his office. Request copies of all records from the past year, especially any cognitive assessments or competency evaluations." I called from Robert's office. Dr. Wallace's receptionist put me on hold, came back confused. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm not showing any recent evaluations in our system. When did you have a cognitive assessment?" "I didn't. That's the problem." "Oh, well, let me print everything we have for the past year. Can I pick them up today?" "Give us an hour." I drove to Dr. Wallace's office. The receptionist handed me a manila folder. That's everything from the past 12 months. Regular checkup, blood work, flu shot, no cognitive assessments. I sat in my car, opened the folder. 6 pages. Routine visit notes. Blood pressure normal. Cholesterol slightly elevated. A prescription for a statin. Nothing about memory problems. Nothing about incompetence. But I knew there had to be other records. The conservatorship filing would have required medical evidence. I needed to see what Jessica had submitted to the court. Robert filed a motion that afternoon. Request for all documents submitted in support of the conservatorship petition. The court granted it. 24 hours later, Robert called. "Margaret, you need to come to my office. Now." I drove over. He had the court file spread across his desk, pulled out a document, 3 pages, medical letterhead. Dr. Benjamin Patterson, general practitioner. I'd never heard that name. "This is the evaluation used to justify the conservatorship," Robert said. "Read it." I took the pages, sat down in the chair across from his desk. The paper felt heavy in my hands. The coffee Robert had offered me sat cooling on the side table. Through his office window, I could see the parking lot. Normal people going about normal days. My hands shook slightly as I read. Patient: Margaret Ann Thompson, DOB, redacted, age 72. Date of evaluation: March 15, 2025. Chief complaint: patient brought in by daughter due to concerns about cognitive decline and inability to manage personal affairs. Findings: patient exhibited significant memory impairment during examination, unable to recall recent events, confused about current date and location, showed poor judgment in discussing financial matters. When asked to perform simple calculations, patient became agitated and defensive. Patient has been experiencing progressive cognitive decline over the past year, according to family reports. Daughter notes, patient has forgotten to pay bills, left stove on multiple times, gotten lost driving in familiar areas. Patient denies these incidents, consistent with anosognosia commonly seen in dementia patients. Mental status examination. Patient scored 1830 on mini mental state examination, indicating moderate cognitive impairment. Clock drawing test showed significant deficits, unable to complete serial 7's task. Impression, moderate dementia, likely Alzheimer's type. Patient lacks capacity to manage financial affairs or make informed decisions regarding medical care. Recommendation: conservatorship appropriate given patient's inability to safely manage personal and financial matters. Patient requires supervision and assistance with activities of daily living. Benjamin Patterson, MD. I read it twice. My vision blurred on the second read. This doctor had written that I had dementia, that I couldn't remember things, that I left the stove on, got lost driving, scored 18 out of 30 on some test. March 15th. March 15th. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to my photos. March. There. March 10th through March 20th. "Robert," I said quietly, "look at this." I showed him my phone. Photos from the book club cruise. We'd gone to Mexico. 10 days, 12 of us. There was a photo of me on the ship. Timestamp March 15th, 2 p.m. I was standing on the deck, holding a margarita, smiling. Diane was beside me. Behind us, the ocean. "I was on a cruise ship on March 15th, I said, with 12 witnesses. I was never in Dr. Patterson's office." I sat in my car outside Robert's office, holding those papers. A doctor I'd never met had declared me incompetent, signed his name to it, said he'd examined me on March 15th, said I couldn't remember things, couldn't do simple math, had dementia, and on March 15th, I'd been on a cruise ship with 12 book club friends. We'd gone snorkeling, played trivia. I'd won the trivia game, beat everyone by 15 points. The category was American literature. My specialty. Jessica had arranged this, paid for it, found a doctor willing to lie, to forge an evaluation, to declare a woman he'd never met incompetent, used it to steal my life. I didn't recognize the person who would do this. My daughter, the little girl I'd raised, the teenager I'd helped with homework, the young woman I'd walked down the aisle, the mother I'd watched hold her own children for the first time. That person was gone. Or maybe she'd never existed. Maybe I'd been blind, too trusting, too willing to believe the best, but not anymore. Robert made copies of everything: the cruise photos, the boarding passes, the itinerary with my name on it, the ship manifest, 12 witnesses who could testify I was on that ship, on that date, completely competent, playing trivia, reading novels by the pool, organizing the dinner reservations for our group. "This is fraud," Robert said. "Medical fraud, perjury, elder abuse. I'm going to shred this evaluation in court." But that wasn't all. Robert requested my bank records, full detailed statements, not the summary I'd seen at the bank. Every transaction, every withdrawal, every check written. The statements arrived 2 days later. I sat at Robert's conference table. He sat beside me. We went through them together. $87,312. That was the exact amount. 23 transactions over 3 months. 5,000 here, 10,000 there, 12,000, 8,000. The numbers blurred together, but each one had my signature, or something that looked like my signature. Robert pointed. "These signatures are forged. Look, your real signature has this distinctive loop in the M. These checks don't. They're close, but not exact." He'd pulled samples of my real signature, from the will I'd signed in his office, from other documents over the years. He laid them side by side with the checks. He was right. The forgeries were good, but not perfect. "I'm getting a handwriting expert," Robert said. "She'll confirm these are forged. That's another felony." We moved to the power of attorney documents. Robert pulled out the one I'd signed 8 months ago, then the one Jessica had filed with the court. He laid them side by side. They weren't the same. "Margaret, what you signed was a limited power of attorney. Medical decisions only. Standard. What Jessica filed with the court is a durable general power of attorney. It gives her authority over everything. Your finances, your property, your medical care, everything." "But I never signed this?" "You signed something. She probably switched out pages. Had you signed the first page, which looks similar, then attached it to different pages with broader language?" He showed me. The signature page was similar to what I remembered, but the pages before it? Those were different, broader, more controlling. "That's forgery," Robert said. "Fraud. And with the medical records being fake and the financial theft, Margaret, we have a strong case, but we need more." I gave him everything. The text messages I'd found in my cloud backup, Jessica's messages to Tom. Got her to sign. She didn't read it. We're good. "Patterson will do the evaluation for $5,000. He owes me a favor. Celebration of life next week. Community needs to think she's gone before the hearing." Robert read them. His jaw tightened. This is premeditation, planning. This wasn't impulse. This was calculated. I also pulled property records. Robert helped me access them online. There it was, a quitclaim deed, filed but not yet processed. Margaret Ann Thompson transferring property to Jessica Lynn Barrett. Effective immediately. My house. The house I'd lived in for 47 years. Jessica had tried to transfer it to herself. "This filing is fraudulent," Robert said. "She filed it under the conservatorship authority, but the conservatorship wasn't granted yet. The hearing isn't for another week. She was trying to transfer property before she even had legal authority." Finally, witnesses. I called Diane from book club. "Diane, I need your help. Jessica is trying to have me declared incompetent. She claims I have dementia. Would you be willing to testify that I'm fine?" "Testify? In court?" "Yes, at a conservatorship hearing." "Margaret, of course. You were fine on our cruise 3 weeks ago. You organized the whole trip. You remembered everyone's dietary restrictions. You led the book discussion on the ship. You're sharp as ever. Can you get statements from the other women who were there?" "Absolutely." Linda was next. "Margaret, I'll testify. I have coffee with you every morning. You're completely competent. This is insane. I called 2 former teaching colleagues. Both agreed. Margaret, you helped me set up my new computer last month, one said. You're better with technology than I am. The evidence was building. Medical fraud, financial theft, forged documents, property fraud, witness testimony, digital evidence. But I made a mistake. I called Jessica. I shouldn't have. Robert had warned me. Don't contact her directly. Let me handle it. But I couldn't help it. I needed her to know, to understand. I wasn't helpless. I wasn't going to disappear quietly. Jessica, I know about Dr. Patterson. I know about the forged evaluation. I know about the money. I'm fighting this. I have a lawyer. I have evidence. You're not going to get away with this. She was quiet for a moment. Then, Mom, you're having one of your episodes again. You're confused, paranoid. This is exactly what Dr. Patterson warned about. I'm going to have to mention this to the court, that you're making wild accusations, that you're not stable. I have proof, Jessica. I was on a cruise on March 15th. I have photos, witnesses, bank records showing you stole $87,000, text messages where you admit you forged documents. Mom, you're not making sense. I'm worried about you. Maybe we need to move up the hearing, get you into care sooner. She hung up. 10 minutes later, Robert called. Margaret, did you just call Jessica? Yes. How did you know? Because Jessica's attorney just filed an emergency motion, claiming you're deteriorating rapidly, that you're making paranoid accusations, that you pose a danger to yourself. She recorded the call, probably, and she'll use it. She'll edit it to make you sound confused, unstable. Margaret, we have to be more careful. I'd given her ammunition, handed it to her, because I'd been angry, because I'd wanted her to know she wouldn't win, but she'd turned it against me, just like she'd turned everything against me. Robert reviewed everything we had, made a list, evidence against conservatorship, forged medical evaluation, impossible date, defendant on cruise, forged signatures on financial documents, handwriting expert to confirm, forged power of attorney, pages switched, fraudulent property transfer, filed without authority, text message evidence of premeditation, witness testimony, 12 book club members, neighbor, former colleagues, independent medical evaluation scheduled. We have enough, Robert said. We challenge the conservatorship at the hearing. We expose the fraud. We get this dismissed. And then, he paused, then we refer this to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Will that actually happen? Elder abuse is taken seriously in this state. Financial exploitation of a senior, fraud, forgery. Yes, there will be consequences. I drove home. It was getting dark. I pulled into my driveway, saw my house, 47 years, the porch light David had installed, the garden we'd planted together, the windows we'd replaced when the kids were small. This was mine, my life, my home, my money, my mind, and I was going to fight for it. The hearing was in 7 days, 7 days to stop my daughter from erasing me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where I'd signed those papers 8 months ago, where Jessica and I used to do her homework when she was little, where David and I had shared our morning coffee for 42 years. The evidence was spread in front of me: medical fraud, financial theft, forged documents, property fraud, text messages that proved she'd planned this for months. All of it pointed to one truth: my daughter had tried to erase me. I picked up one of the cruise photos on my phone. March 15th. I was standing on the deck with Diane and 3 other women from book club. We were laughing. I'd just won the trivia game, American literature, my category. I'd beaten everyone by 15 points. That same day, according to Dr. Patterson's evaluation, I'd been in his office, confused, unable to remember, scoring 18 out of 30 on a cognitive test, unable to draw a clock, unable to count backward from 100 by sevens. It was a lie, all of it. And Jessica had arranged it, paid $5,000 for a doctor to declare me incompetent, a doctor I'd never met, who'd never examined me, who'd put his name on a document saying I had dementia. I thought about the celebration of life, the flowers, the photos, the guest book, 40 people signing their names, offering condolences to my living, breathing daughter, while I stood outside, alive. I'd been so blind for months. The distance, the papers I'd signed without reading, the lies she'd told the kids, the money she'd stolen, the belongings she'd taken. All of it had been building to this moment, the conservatorship hearing, 7 days from now, where a judge would decide if I was competent to manage my own life, or if Jessica would control everything, my money, my house, my medical care, my choices, my existence. I stood, walked to the refrigerator, looked at the photos magneted there. Jessica's college graduation. 25 years ago, she wore her cap and gown. I stood beside her, both of us smiling, so proud. I remembered that day. The heat, the uncomfortable folding chairs on the football field, sitting through 2 hours of names being called. But when they called Jessica Marie Thompson, I'd stood, cheered. My daughter, college graduate, first in our family. After the ceremony, she'd hugged me, tight. I couldn't have done it without you, Mom. All those late nights you helped me study, all the tuition you paid, the books, the apartment, everything. I love you. I'd cried. Happy tears, proud tears. I'd been a single mother by then. David had just died the year before. It had been hard, working full-time, helping Jessica through her senior year, watching her walk across that stage without her father there to see it. But we'd made it, together. That was the daughter I remembered, the one who'd hugged me, thanked me, loved me. I looked at the photo again. 25 years ago. That girl didn't exist anymore. Or maybe she'd never been real. Maybe I'd only seen what I wanted to see. A grateful daughter, a loving child, a relationship built on trust. But trust was gone now, erased by $87,000 in stolen money, by forged documents, by a celebration of life held while I was still breathing. I walked through my house, turned on lights in each room, the living room where we'd opened Christmas presents for 42 years, the spare bedroom where Jessica used to stay when she visited, the hallway with photos on the wall, my wedding, Jessica's baby pictures, the grandkids, the bathroom David and I had remodeled 20 years ago, the master bedroom where I'd slept alone for 5 years, where David had died in his sleep, where I'd woken up that morning and found him gone. I ended in the kitchen, stood at the window, looked out at the garden. Dawn was breaking. The roses were blooming, red and yellow, David's favorites. He'd planted them the year before he died, showed me how to prune them, how to feed them, how to keep them healthy. "These will outlast me," he'd said, "but you'll take care of them. You're good at taking care of things." I was. I'd taken care of this house for 47 years, taken care of David through his illness, taken care of Jessica through her childhood, her college years, her adult struggles, taken care of the grandkids when Jessica needed help, taken care of my students for 35 years. I'd been a caretaker, a supporter, someone who helped others, who gave, who sacrificed. And Jessica had taken advantage of that. She'd seen my giving as weakness, my trust as foolishness, my love as something to exploit. I thought about the papers I'd found in the court file, the quitclaim deed Jessica had tried to file, transferring this house to herself, the house I'd lived in for 47 years, the house David and I had bought together, had raised our daughter in, had built our life in. She'd tried to take it. Before the conservatorship was even granted, before she had any legal authority, she'd filed the paperwork anyway, hoping no one would notice, hoping the system would just process it. This house, my home, the place where every wall held a memory, every room told a story, every corner had meaning, and she'd tried to steal it with a piece of paper. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, watched the sun rise through the window. The garden brightened. The roses glowed. Birds landed on the feeder David had hung. Somewhere in this house, In every object and every memory, I'd been building a life, a legacy, something to pass to my grandchildren, to leave behind when I was actually gone, not taken, not stolen, not erased, while I was still alive. I pulled out the foreclosure notice I'd found in the court documents. Jessica's house, 90 days overdue, 3 payments missed, the bank threatening to foreclose. I understood now. I really did. She was desperate, drowning in debt. The business had failed. Tom had lost his job. The mortgage was underwater. The kids needed things. College was coming. Bills were piling up. She was watching everything she'd built collapse. And she'd looked at me, at my paid-off house, at my retirement savings, at my stability. And she'd decided to take it. Not ask. Not borrow. Not admit she was struggling and needed help. But take. Lie. Forge. Steal. Erase. She'd made a choice. A calculated, premeditated choice. To sacrifice her mother to save herself. I could understand desperation. I'd been desperate after David died. When the medical bills came, when I realized how much debt he'd hidden from me, I'd considered asking Jessica for help, considered saying, "I need you." But I hadn't. I'd figured it out myself, worked overtime, sold things, cut expenses, got through it alone, because I'd been raised to believe you don't burden your children. You don't make your problems theirs. You handle it. Jessica hadn't been raised that way, or maybe she had, and she'd rejected it. Decided her needs mattered more than mine. Her survival justified any cost, even the cost of her mother's dignity, freedom, life. I understood her desperation, but I couldn't forgive what she'd done with it. I sat in my living room. The sun was fully up now. Linda would be over soon with my mail. We'd have coffee. She'd ask how I was doing. I'd tell her about the evidence, about the hearing in 7 days, and then I'd tell her something else. Something I'd realized sitting here in the dark, watching dawn break over the garden David had planted. I wasn't the same person I'd been 3 weeks ago, the woman who'd avoided conflict, who'd trusted blindly, who'd valued family harmony over truth, who'd signed papers without reading them, who'd let her daughter take and take and take without questioning. That woman was gone. In her place was someone harder, more careful, someone who'd learned that love without boundaries is exploitation. That family can be the cruelest betrayer. That trust must be earned, not given freely. Someone who would fight. I looked at my phone. Robert had sent me a message. Independent medical evaluation scheduled for tomorrow. Dr. Sarah Martinez, geriatric psychiatrist. She'll examine you, test your cognitive function. Her report will counter Patterson's evaluation. Be there at 9 a.m., I texted back. I'll be there. He'd also sent a list of what we needed for the hearing. Witnesses, documents, evidence, a timeline, everything organized, everything documented, everything ready. I opened a notebook, started making my own list. Everyone I needed to call, everything I needed to prepare, every detail I needed to remember. I'd spent 47 years in this house, raised my daughter here, buried my husband, built a life. I'd given Jessica nearly $200,000 over 20 years, helped her through every crisis, loved her unconditionally, and she'd thanked me by trying to declare me dead. But I wasn't dead. I was sitting in my kitchen, drinking coffee, making plans, preparing to fight. I sat in my living room, looking at 47 years of memories. I'd given Jessica everything, but I wouldn't give her this. Not my home, not my dignity, not my life. 7 days to gather witnesses, to prepare testimony, to organize evidence, to walk into that courtroom and prove to a judge that I was competent, independent, capable. 7 days to stop my daughter from erasing me. And I was ready. Dr. Sarah Martinez's office was in a medical building downtown. I arrived 15 minutes early, filled out paperwork, medical history, current medications, a statin for cholesterol. That was it. Dr. Martinez was younger than I expected, early 50s, sharp eyes. She explained the evaluation process clearly. I'm going to assess your cognitive function, memory, reasoning, executive function. This will take about 90 minutes. There's no way to pass or fail, just answer honestly. She asked me questions. What year is it? Who's the president? Count backward from 100 by sevens. Remember these 3 words: apple, table, penny. Draw a clock showing 3:15. I answered every question, drew the clock. Remembered the 3 words 10 minutes later when she asked. Counted backward without error. She gave me puzzles, pattern recognition, sequencing, asked me to explain proverbs, to plan a simple task, to organize a list. 90 minutes later, she closed her notebook. Mrs. Thompson, your cognitive function is excellent. You score in the 95th percentile for your age group. Your memory is sharp. Your reasoning is clear. Your executive function is better than most people half your age. I see absolutely no evidence of cognitive decline or impairment. Can you put that in a report? I already am. I'll have it to your attorney by tomorrow morning, and I'll testify at the hearing if needed. Thank you. She paused. Mrs. Thompson, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've evaluated hundreds of patients. You're completely competent. What's happening to you? This is elder abuse. I hope the court sees that. I drove home, called Robert. Dr. Martinez says I'm fine, 95th percentile. Perfect. That directly contradicts Patterson's evaluation. We'll present both. Let the judge see the difference. Next witnesses. Diane had called everyone from the book club. All 12 women agreed to provide written statements. 3 offered to testify in person. Margaret, what Jessica did is unconscionable, Diane said when I called to thank her. We're all behind you. Linda, of course, would testify. I've watched you every morning for 15 years. You're sharp as ever. I'd stake my life on it. 2 former teaching colleagues. Patricia had backed out after the threatening call, but her replacement, Carol, another retired teacher, agreed immediately. You helped me set up my entire home computer system last year. You're more tech-savvy than my own kids. Robert compiled everything. Witness list, medical evaluation, evidence of fraud, financial records, text messages, property documents, cruise photos with timestamps. We're ready, he said. 6 days until the hearing. Then Jessica's attorney filed new motions. The first came 3 days before the hearing. Robert called me. Jessica's lawyer is requesting a settlement conference before the hearing. He wants to negotiate. Negotiate what? He didn't specify, but typically this means they know their case is weak. They want to avoid going before a judge. What would a settlement look like? They'd probably offer to drop the conservatorship in exchange for something. Maybe you sign over some assets. Maybe you grant Jessica limited power of attorney. Maybe you agree not to pursue criminal charges. I thought about it. Thought about avoiding the courtroom, the testimony, the public exposure, the stress. Walking away, moving on. No, I said. We go to court. I want a judge to see what she did. I want it on record. Are you sure? A trial is stressful. There's always a risk. I'm sure. We're going to court. The second motion came the next day. Emergency petition for expedited hearing. Jessica's attorney claimed I'd made threatening phone calls, that I was becoming increasingly paranoid and aggressive, that I posed a potential danger. She's using that phone call, Robert said. The one you made to her. She edited it, made it sound worse than it was. Can she do that? She can try. The judge will see through it, but it complicates things. It makes you look unstable. I felt the trap closing. Every move I made, Jessica twisted. Every word I spoke, she recorded and edited. Every attempt to defend myself became evidence of incompetence. What do? We stay calm. We document everything. We let the evidence speak. Don't call her again. Don't contact her at all. Let me handle it. That night, Jessica came to my house. I heard the doorbell, looked through the peephole. She stood on my porch, alone, no Tom, no kids. I opened the door, didn't invite her in. Mom, we need to talk. My attorney said not to contact you. I'm your daughter. We should be able to talk. Her eyes were red. She looked tired. "Mom, please, can we just drop all this? Forget the conservatorship, forget the lawyers. Let's just go back to how things were." I stood in my doorway, looked at her. The daughter I'd raised, who I'd given nearly $200,000, whose college graduation I'd attended with pride, who'd hugged me and said she couldn't have done it without me. "You held a celebration of life for me while I was alive." I know, I was stressed. I wasn't thinking clearly. "But we can fix this. I'll return the money. I'll give back your things. We'll tear up the paperwork. Just sign this." She held out a paper. "It's a withdrawal of complaint. We drop everything. No hearing, no lawyers. We go back to normal." "What about the $87,000? "I'll pay you back. I promise. A payment plan. It might take a while, but I'll pay every penny." "And the house? The quitclaim deed you tried to file?" She looked away. "That was a mistake. I won't file it. The house is yours." I looked at the paper in her hand, at my daughter's face, at the desperation there, the fear. She was losing. She knew it. Her case was falling apart. The settlement conference had been rejected. The evidence was stacked against her. In 3 days, she'd stand before a judge and face questions she couldn't answer. And she was offering me a way out, a way to avoid the courtroom, to keep this private, to preserve some shred of family relationship. Part of me wanted to take it, to sign the paper, to let her walk away, to avoid the ugliness of a trial, to protect the grandkids from seeing their mother exposed as a thief. But I thought about the celebration of life, about standing outside that community center, about seeing my photo, about Jessica crying while accepting condolences, about 40 people signing a guest book for a woman who was still breathing. "No," I said. "See you in court." Her face changed. The desperation disappeared, replaced by something colder, harder. "You're making a mistake, Mom. The judge is going to see you're not capable. You're paranoid, unstable, making accusations. You need help." "I need my daughter to stop stealing from me." "I didn't steal. I protected your assets. That's what the conservatorship is for, to protect you from yourself." "This conversation is over." I stepped back, started to close the door. She put her hand on it. "Mom, you're going to lose. I have documentation, medical reports, witness statements. The judge is going to grant the conservatorship, and then I'll have full control over everything. Your money, your house, your medical care, every decision. Is that what you want? Get off my property." "Or what? You'll call the police? Go ahead. That'll just prove my point, that you're unstable, aggressive." I closed the door, locked it, watched through the peephole as she stood there for a long moment. Then she turned, walked to her car, drove away. I called Robert immediately, told him what happened. She tried to settle again, verbally this time. When you refused, she threatened you. "Is that legal?" "No, it's witness intimidation. I'm filing a complaint." He paused. "Margaret, be careful. Lock your doors. Don't answer if she comes back. She's desperate. Desperate people do unpredictable things." 2 days before the hearing, late evening, I was in bed, reading. Linda had stopped by for dinner. We'd gone over my testimony, what I'd say, how I'd answer questions. She'd left around 9. At 11:30, the alarm went off. The home security system I'd had installed after the celebration. Loud, piercing. The control panel showed back door. Someone had tried to open it. I grabbed my phone, called 911. "Someone's trying to break into my house." The operator kept me on the line. Police arrived within 6 minutes, checked the property. The back door handle had been tried. No forced entry, no one found, no car on the street. "Looks like someone tested the door. Found it locked. Left," the officer said. "You have security cameras?" "No, just the alarm." "Might want to get cameras. You know anyone who'd want to scare you?" I thought about mentioning Jessica, but I didn't. Didn't have proof, just suspicion. "No," I said. "I don't know." But I did know, or suspected. Someone wanted me scared, rattled, off balance before the hearing. I called Linda. She came over immediately. Pack a bag. You're staying at my house tonight." "I'm not leaving my house." "Margaret, someone just tried your door. They might come back. Please." I packed a bag, spent the night at Linda's house. Didn't sleep much. Kept thinking about the door, about Jessica's threat, about the hearing in less than 48 hours. The next morning, Linda's house. We sat at her kitchen table. Coffee. Toast. The doorbell rang. Linda answered. Came back with Diane and 3 other women from book club. "We heard what happened last night," Diane said. "We're not leaving you alone before the hearing." They stayed all day. We went over testimony. They asked me questions, practiced my answers, made sure I was ready. "You're going to do great," one of them said. "You're the sharpest person I know." That night, Linda insisted I stay again. "One more night, then the hearing tomorrow. After that, you can go home. But tonight, you stay here." I didn't argue. I was tired, scared, grateful. The morning of the hearing, Linda woke me at 6, made coffee. We sat on her back porch, watched the sun rise. "You ready?" she asked. I thought about the question. Was I ready? Ready to walk into a courtroom, to face my daughter, to testify before a judge, to prove I was competent, to fight for my life? "I have to be," I said. Robert called at 7. "I'll meet you at the courthouse at 8:30. We'll go over everything one more time. The hearing starts at 9. I dressed carefully. Navy suit, the one I'd worn to parent-teacher conferences for 35 years. Pearl earrings my mother had given me, my wedding ring. I looked in Linda's mirror, saw a 72-year-old woman, gray hair, lined face, but clear eyes, steady hands, competent. Linda drove me to the courthouse. Robert was waiting outside. He handed me a folder. "Everything's here, evidence, witness list, your testimony notes. Remember, be calm, be clear. Answer the questions directly. Don't get emotional. Let the facts speak." I nodded. "Margaret," he said, "you've got this. We have the evidence. We have the witnesses. We have the truth. The judge will see it." I looked up at the courthouse, at the steps, at the doors. Somewhere inside, Jessica was waiting, with her attorney, with her forged documents, with her lies. But I had truth. I had evidence. I had witnesses who'd testify I was competent, independent, capable. I had fought for 7 days, gathered evidence, organized witnesses, prepared testimony, built a case, and now it was time to walk into that courtroom and prove I was alive, prove I was competent, prove I deserved to control my own life. Linda squeezed my hand. "Ready?" I took a breath, looked at the courthouse doors. Ready. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Wood paneling, a judge's bench at the front, 2 tables facing it, a small gallery with maybe 20 seats, fluorescent lights. The air conditioning hummed. Judge Patricia Morrison entered, a woman in her 60s with gray hair pulled back, reading glasses on a chain. "All rise," the bailiff said. We stood, she sat. "Be seated. Case number 2025 CV 4782. In the matter of the conservatorship of Margaret Ann Thompson. Counsel, please state your appearances." Jessica's attorney went first, Marcus Wade. Mid-40s, expensive suit, smooth voice. Marcus Wade appearing on behalf of petitioner Jessica Barrett. Robert stood. Robert Chen for respondent Margaret Thompson. Judge Morrison looked at her file. "I've reviewed the petition and the opposition. This is a hearing on whether to grant a general conservatorship over Mrs. Thompson based on alleged cognitive impairment. Mr. Wade, you may proceed." Wade stood. "Your Honor, we're here because Mrs. Thompson can no longer safely manage her own affairs. She suffers from progressive cognitive decline. She's become increasingly confused, paranoid, and unable to handle basic financial decisions. My client, her daughter, seeks conservatorship solely to protect her mother from harm." He presented his evidence. Dr. Patterson's evaluation, the medical report claiming I had dementia, that I'd scored 18 out of 30 on cognitive tests, that I couldn't draw a clock, that I exhibited significant impairment. Dr. Patterson conducted a thorough 90-minute evaluation, Wade said. His findings are clear. Mrs. Thompson lacks capacity to manage her affairs. Robert stood for cross-examination. Your Honor, I'd like to establish the date of this alleged evaluation. Mr. Wade, when did Dr. Patterson examine Mrs. Thompson? Wade checked his notes. March 15, 2025. And where was this examination conducted? At Dr. Patterson's office, downtown Medical Plaza. Robert pulled out documents, handed copies to the judge and to Wade. Your Honor, these are photos from Mrs. Thompson's phone, with timestamps, March 15, 2025. Mrs. Thompson was on a cruise ship in the Pacific Ocean. Here's the boarding pass. Here's the ship manifest with her name. Here are 12 witnesses who were with her. She was not in Dr. Patterson's office. She was 800 miles away. Judge Morrison looked at the photos. At the evaluation, her expression hardened. Mr. Wade, do you have an explanation for this discrepancy? Wade looked at the papers, at Jessica, back at the judge. Your Honor, I was given this evaluation by my client. I had no reason to believe it wasn't accurate. You submitted a medical evaluation to this court without verifying its authenticity. I relied on my client's representations, which appear to be fraudulent. Judge Morrison set the papers aside. Continue, Mr. Chen. Robert called his first witness, Dr. Sarah Martinez. She was sworn in, took the stand, professional, clear. Dr. Martinez, you evaluated Mrs. Thompson 2 days ago. Can you describe your findings? Yes, I conducted a comprehensive cognitive assessment, 90 minutes, multiple standardized tests. Mrs. Thompson scored in the 95th percentile for her age group. Her memory is excellent. Her reasoning is clear. Her executive function is outstanding. I found absolutely no evidence of cognitive impairment or decline. In your professional opinion, is Mrs. Thompson competent to manage her own affairs? Completely, without question. Wade tried to cross-examine. Dr. Martinez, isn't it possible Mrs. Thompson was having a good day, that her condition fluctuates? No, dementia doesn't work that way. You don't score in the 95th percentile one day and show moderate impairment another. If Dr. Patterson's evaluation were accurate, Mrs. Thompson would show consistent deficits. She doesn't, which suggests Dr. Patterson's evaluation is either incompetent or fraudulent. Judge Morrison made a note. Thank you, Dr. Martinez. Robert called Linda next. She was nervous, smoothed her skirt as she sat. But when she spoke, her voice was steady. Mrs. Mitchell, how long have you known Mrs. Thompson? 15 years. We're neighbors. We have coffee together every morning. And in those 15 years, have you noticed any cognitive decline? None. Margaret is sharp. She helps me with my finances. She fixed my computer last month. She reads 3 books a week and remembers every detail. She organizes our entire neighborhood book club. If anything, she's more capable than I am. Have you ever witnessed her being confused or disoriented? Never, not once. Wade tried to undermine her. Mrs. Mitchell, you're friends with Mrs. Thompson. You're biased. I'm honest, and I'm telling you the truth. Margaret Thompson is completely competent. Robert presented the other evidence. Bank statements showing $87,000 stolen, forged signatures. The handwriting expert's report confirming forgery. The power of attorney documents showing pages had been switched. The text messages from Jessica admitting she'd had Margaret sign without reading. The property deed Jessica had tried to file fraudulently. Judge Morrison reviewed each document carefully. Her expression grew darker with each page. Mr. Wade, your client withdrew $87,000 from her mother's account under the authority of the power of attorney, which appears to have been obtained through fraud, and she attempted to transfer property she didn't own? Wade hesitated. Your Honor, my client was acting in what she believed to be her mother's best interests. By holding a celebration of life while her mother was alive? Silence. Wade had no answer. Judge Morrison looked at me. "Mrs. Thompson, would you like to address the court?" I stood. My legs felt steady. My voice was clear. "Your Honor, I'm 72 years old. I taught high school. English for 35 years. I've lived in my home for 47 years. I raised my daughter in that house. I've been widowed for 5 years, and I've managed just fine. I balance my checkbook. I maintain my property. I volunteer at the library twice a week. I attend book club. I have friends. I have a life. My daughter held a celebration of life for me while I was alive. She told our community I was dead. She stole $87,000 from my account. She tried to take my home. She had a doctor I never met declare me incompetent. I'm not confused. I'm not incompetent. I'm not a danger to myself. I'm a mother who trusted her daughter, and that trust was betrayed. I'm asking this court to protect my rights, my independence, my dignity." I sat down. The courtroom was quiet. Judge Morrison looked at me for a long moment, then at Jessica. "Ms. Barrett, I'd like to hear from you. Why did you hold a celebration of life for your mother?" Jessica stood slowly. Her attorney tried to object, but Judge Morrison silenced him with a look. "Answer the question, Ms. Barrett." Jessica's voice was small. It wasn't meant to be disrespectful. I was grieving the mother I used to know. She's changed. She's not the same person. She's sitting right there, very much alive, very much competent. But she wasn't managing things properly. She was making bad decisions, such as she was giving money away. She was too trusting. She needed protection. From whom? Jessica's face crumpled. From herself, from people who might take advantage of her. It appears the only person taking advantage was you. Jessica's composure broke. Tears started. Not delicate tears, ugly crying. Her voice rose. "I'm losing my house. The bank is foreclosing. Tom hasn't worked in 6 months. My business failed. I have nothing. And she has everything. That house is paid off. She has retirement savings. She doesn't need all that. She's old. She'll die soon anyway, and I'm drowning. I'm about to lose everything. So yes, I had to." She stopped, realized what she'd said, looked at her attorney, at me, at the judge. "You had to what, Ms. Barrett?" I had to protect my family. By stealing from your mother? By forging documents? By attempting to have her declared incompetent?" Jessica didn't answer, just cried. I watched my daughter, watched her break down. Part of me wanted to stand, to walk over, to hug her like I had when she was 5 and fell off her bike, when she was 12 and didn't make the volleyball team, when she was 25 and her first marriage ended. But that little girl was gone. The person sitting at that table had tried to erase me, had held a memorial service while I stood outside breathing, had stolen nearly $90,000, had forged medical documents, had attempted to take my home. The person sitting across from me had tried to erase my existence, and I couldn't let that go. Judge Morrison spoke. Her voice was cold, final. "I've heard enough. The petition for conservatorship is denied. Mrs. Thompson is clearly competent to manage her own affairs. The fraudulent medical evaluation will be referred to the state medical board. The financial theft will be referred to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation. All accounts are to be unfrozen immediately. Mrs. Thompson's assets are returned to her sole control. I'm granting a 5-year restraining order. Ms. Barrett, you are not to contact your mother, not to come within 500 feet of her home, not to make any financial transactions involving her accounts or property. Violation will result in arrest. This court finds clear evidence of elder abuse, financial exploitation, and fraud. Ms. Barrett, you should expect criminal charges. This hearing is adjourned." The gavel fell. The sound echoed through the courtroom. Final. Definitive. Linda squeezed my hand. Robert closed his briefcase. People in the gallery stood. Some of the book club women were crying, happy tears, relief. I just breathed, not triumphant, not celebratory, just relieved. Jessica sat at her table. Her attorney was packing up quickly, trying to distance himself. Tom sat in the gallery behind her. He hadn't looked at me once during the entire hearing. Now he stood, walked out, didn't wait for Jessica. Jessica looked at me. Our eyes met. For a moment, I saw her as a little girl, 5 years old, running to me after her first day of kindergarten. "Mommy, I made a friend." So excited, so innocent, so full of life. That little girl was gone. Maybe she'd been gone for years. Maybe I'd just been too blind to see it. "Let's go," Robert said quietly. I stood, walked out of the courtroom, Linda on one side, Robert on the other, down the hallway, past the security checkpoint, out the front doors into the sunlight, the steps of the courthouse, the same steps I'd climbed 2 hours ago, terrified, uncertain, not sure if I'd walk out with my life intact. Now I stood at the top, looked at the parking lot, at the normal world going about its normal day, people walking, cars driving, life continuing, my life, still mine, still independent, still free. "You did it," Linda said. "We did it," I corrected. "I couldn't have done this alone." Robert smiled. "Margaret, you're one of the toughest clients I've ever had, and I mean that as the highest compliment." We walked to the parking lot. I got in Linda's car. She drove me home, to my house, the house I'd lived in for 47 years, the house that was still mine, that would always be mine. I stood on my front porch, put my key in the lock, opened the door, stepped inside. My home, my space, my life, still mine. The week after the hearing, things started to happen. The district attorney's office opened an investigation. A detective called, asked me to come in, give a statement. I spent 2 hours walking through everything, the celebration of life, the forged documents, the stolen money. They took notes, asked detailed questions, told me they'd be filing charges. Elder abuse, grand theft, forgery, fraud, the detective said. Multiple felonies. Your daughter is looking at serious prison time if convicted. I didn't feel satisfaction, just sadness, that it had come to this, that my daughter had made choices that led here. Will I have to testify at a trial? Possibly. But given the evidence, she'll likely take a plea deal. Most defendants do when the case is this clear. 2 weeks later, Jessica was charged, 5 felony counts. Her bail was set at $50,000. Tom didn't post it. She spent 3 days in jail before her attorney arranged a bond. The restraining order meant I didn't see her, didn't hear from her directly. But Linda told me Jessica had lost the house. Foreclosure went through. They were living in an apartment now. Tom had filed for divorce. "The kids are staying with Tom's parents," Linda said. "Emma called me, asked about you. I told her you were okay. She cried, said she didn't know what her mother had done, that she's sorry." Emma, my granddaughter, 15 years old, caught in the middle. I'd promised her my grandmother's china, the blue flowers, 4 generations. That promise still stood. Whatever Jessica had done, Emma was innocent. 3 months after the hearing, Jessica's case was resolved. Plea agreement, guilty on all 5 counts. Sentencing, 18 months in county jail followed by 3 years probation. $87,000 in restitution, payable at $1,500 per month for 5 years. Community service, mandatory counseling. She'd serve probably 12 months with good behavior, then house arrest for the remainder. It wasn't prison, but it was justice. Robert had fought for the restitution payment plan. "You'll get your money back," he said. "It'll take 5 years, but you'll get it." The first payment arrived in September, a cashier's check for $1,500. I deposited it. Didn't feel triumphant, just tired. The money wouldn't fix what had been broken, wouldn't rebuild trust, wouldn't give back the daughter I'd thought I had. My belongings came back piecemeal. Robert arranged it. Jessica's attorney delivered boxes to his office. I picked them up, the photo albums. My grandmother's china, carefully packed. My jewelry box, my mother's pearls. David's last gift to me. I unpacked them at home, put the china back in the dining room cabinet where it belonged, hung the photos back on the walls. But some things I put away. The photos of Jessica from the celebration. I couldn't look at them. Not yet. Maybe someday. But not now. Linda was at my house almost every day that first month. Not just for coffee, for company, for support. She'd bring lunch. We'd sit on the back porch, talk about books, about the garden, about anything except Jessica. "You saved my life," I told her one morning. "If you hadn't called me that day, told me about the celebration, I might not have known until it was too late." Linda reached across the table, squeezed my hand. "That's what neighbors do. That's what friends do. You'd have done the same for me." "I would," I said, "and I will. You're not just my neighbor anymore. You're family." She smiled, tears in her eyes. Chosen family. The best kind? Robert Chen sent me a final bill, $4,000 for his services. I wrote the check gratefully. But when I gave it to him, he handed me something else, an envelope. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a photo. His mother, elderly, smiling, standing in a garden. On the back, in his handwriting, "Mom, 87 years old, still independent. Thanks to you." I looked at him confused. 5 years ago, my uncle tried to do to my mother what Jessica did to you, filed for conservatorship, claimed she was incompetent, tried to take her house. I fought it, won. My mother is still living independently because the system worked, because I knew how to fight. Robert, your case reminded me why I do this work, why it matters. You fought back, you won, and now you're helping me help others. I'm using your case as a template, teaching other attorneys, speaking at conferences. Your story is going to protect other seniors from what Jessica tried to do to you. I felt something shift. The pain didn't disappear, but it had purpose now, meaning. What Jessica had done was terrible, but it could help others, could prevent other daughters from making the same choice, other mothers from facing what I'd faced. "Thank you," I said, "for fighting for me." "Thank you," he said, "for trusting me too." Diane from book club organized a welcome back gathering, not a celebration, just lunch, at the cafe downtown. 12 women, the same 12 who'd been on the cruise, who'd testified, who'd stood by me. They'd chipped in, bought me a gift, a journal, leather-bound, expensive. On the first page, they'd all signed their names. "For your next chapter," Diane had written. "We're so proud of you," she said. "What you did took courage. Standing up to family, fighting back, you inspired all of us." "I couldn't have done it without you," I said. "Every one of you. You believed me. You testified. You stood beside me. That's what got me through." We ate lunch, talked about the next book club selection, made plans for another cruise next year. Normal conversation, normal life, moving forward. 3 months after the hearing, a letter arrived. From Jessica. The return address was the county jail. I almost threw it away unopened, but I didn't. I sat at my kitchen table, made coffee, opened the envelope. The handwriting was hers. Small. Careful. "Mom, I know I can't undo what I did. The therapy is helping me see how desperate and wrong I was. I thought I deserved what you had. I thought you owed me. I was drowning and I tried to pull you under. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know. You were a good mother. I failed you, not the other way around. Jessica." I read the letter twice, folded it carefully, put it in a drawer. I didn't respond, not out of cruelty, but clarity. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Jessica needed to heal, but I didn't need to be part of that process. Forgiveness didn't require reconciliation. I could wish her well from a distance, could hope she learned, changed, became better. But I wouldn't invite the danger back into my life. I'd learned that was self-preservation, not selfishness. I updated my estate plan. Robert helped. A revocable trust, healthcare directive with Linda as proxy, not Jessica. 2 signature requirement on any transaction over $5,000. comprehensive protection. The house would go to a trust for Emma and Kyle when I died. The china to Emma specifically. Some money to each grandchild. Nothing to Jessica. You can change it later if you want, Robert said, if things heal between you. Maybe, I said, but I didn't think they would. Some things can't be fixed. Some betrayals run too deep. I had the house appraised, updated the insurance, changed all the locks, installed security cameras. Not because I was paranoid, because I was prepared, because I'd learned to protect myself. I volunteered more at the library, helped other seniors with their computers, their phones, their paperwork, small ways to give back, to help others the way my community had helped me. One afternoon, an elderly woman came in, late 70s, confused. She had papers she didn't understand, a conservatorship petition, filed by her son. I sat with her, listened to her story. It was familiar, too familiar. A son who'd been distant, who'd asked her to sign papers, who'd held a small funeral for her while she was still alive. Not a celebration, but a memorial service with close family. I don't know what to do, she said. He's my son. I should trust him. I gave her Robert's card, told her my story. Not all of it, just enough. That I'd faced something similar, that I'd fought back, that there was help available. You don't have to do this alone, I said. She took the card, tears in her eyes. Thank you. I watched her leave, felt something settle in my chest. Purpose. Meaning. What had happened to me was terrible. But if it helped even one other person avoid the same fate, it mattered. I drove home. My house, still mine, legally protected now, cameras installed, locks changed, estate plan updated, life rebuilt. Not the life I'd imagined 3 months ago, not the life I'd wanted, but a life, my life, independent, secure, free. And that was enough. 6 months after the hearing, I still drink my coffee on the back porch every morning. Linda joins me most days. We watch the sun come up over the garden. The roses David planted are blooming again, red and yellow, thriving. We don't talk much. We don't need to. She brings the newspaper. I pour the coffee. We sit in comfortable silence. 2 widows who've become family, not by blood, by choice. The house is still mine. The locks have been changed. Security cameras watch the doors. The estate plan is updated. Everything is protected. Legal, documented, safe. I live alone, but I'm not lonely. Book club meets every Tuesday, garden club on Thursdays. I volunteer at the library 3 days a week now, help seniors with their computers, their paperwork, their questions about things they don't understand. Sometimes I help them recognize the warning signs, a child who's suddenly too interested in their finances, papers they're being asked to sign quickly, distance that feels calculated rather than natural. I share my story, not all of it, just enough. And I give them Robert's card. The restitution payments arrive every month, $1,500. They go into a separate account. I don't spend them, don't need to. They're just numbers on a statement. Proof that justice happened, that the system worked, that I fought and won. I haven't seen Jessica. The restraining order is still in effect. 4.5 more years. I get updates through Robert. She's out of jail now. House arrest, working at a grocery store, paying her debts, attending counseling. The kids reach out occasionally. Emma texts, sends photos. She's 17 now. Applied to colleges. Asked if she could visit. I said yes, but not here. We meet at coffee shops, neutral territory. She apologizes for her mother. I tell her she doesn't have to. None of this was her fault. I still want you to have Grandma's china, I told her last month. When you're ready, when you have a home of your own. She cried, hugged me. Thank you for not giving up on me. You're my granddaughter. I'll never give up on you. Kyle is less communicative. 18 now, angry. I understand. His world was torn apart. His mother went to jail. His father remarried. His home was foreclosed. That anger has to go somewhere. Someday, maybe he'll be ready to talk. Until then, I wait. And I hope. Some mornings I stand in my kitchen and just breathe. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm independent. That celebration of life Jessica held? She was wrong. I'm not gone. I'm standing. And that's enough. Twice a month I speak at the senior center. Not formal presentations, just informal talks. Coffee with Margaret. People come, sit, ask questions. I tell them about power of attorney documents, about reading everything before signing, about recognizing the signs of financial exploitation, about knowing when to fight back. Robert comes with me sometimes, answers legal questions, hands out cards, explains what to do if someone suspects abuse, where to get help, who to call. "You're making a difference," he told me last week. 3 people have contacted me because of your talks. All 3 had family members trying to exploit them. All 3 are now protected. 3 people. 3 lives saved from what I went through. That matters. It doesn't erase what Jessica did, doesn't heal the betrayal, but it gives it meaning, purpose. My pain became someone else's protection. I updated my will again last month. The house goes to a trust for Emma and Kyle equally, the china to Emma, some bonds to Kyle, a donation to the senior center in David's name, money to the library, nothing to Jessica. That won't change. Robert asked if I'd consider reconciliation someday. People change, he said. Therapy helps. Time heals. Maybe, I said, but not now, maybe not ever, and that's okay. He nodded. Understood. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, some betrayals are too deep, and choosing not to rebuild isn't cruelty, it's wisdom. If you're reading this, or if someone's reading this to you, I want you to know something. Elder abuse is real. Financial exploitation happens every day, sometimes by strangers, more often by family, by the people we trust most. The signs are there if you look. Sudden distance from someone who was close, papers you're asked to sign quickly, money disappearing from accounts, a child who's suddenly very interested in your finances, gaslighting, being told you're confused when you know you're not. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Read everything before you sign. Ask questions. Get a second opinion. Have an attorney you trust. Keep your own records. Protect yourself. And if it happens to you, fight back. You're not alone. There's help. There are people who will believe you, who will stand beside you, who will fight for you. I'm 72 years old. I taught high school English for 35 years. I've lived in my home for 47 years. I've been widowed for 5 years. My daughter tried to erase me while I was still alive. But I'm still here. I drink my coffee every morning. Linda joins me. The book club meets on Tuesdays. I volunteer at the library. I tend David's roses. I help other seniors protect themselves. I live independently in the home I fought for. My life isn't what I imagined it would be. The daughter I thought I had doesn't exist. The family I wanted is gone. But I have a different family now. Chosen family. Linda, Robert, Diane, and the book club. The seniors I help at the library. The people who believed me when I needed them most. That celebration of life photo, I put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll throw it away. Maybe I'll keep it forever. A reminder of what I survived, of what I overcame, of how close I came to losing everything. But I didn't lose. I fought. I won. I'm standing. On my mantle now, there's a new photo. Linda and me. Book club gathering. All of us laughing, living, chosen family. The family that shows up, that believes, that stands beside you when blood fails. Some mornings, Linda's footsteps on my porch are the best sound in the world. The coffee brewing, the newspaper rustling, the sun rising over the garden. Ordinary moments that feel extraordinary because I almost lost them. I'm Margaret Thompson. I'm 72 years old. I live in the house I saved. I control my own life. I make my own decisions. I protect what's mine. And I'm not going anywhere.